Hello, Planeswalkers! Andrew here, joined by a good friend, Levdev.
Hello.
Today, we're bringing you a Taps for Two episode, just talking about White's place in Magic and what it should be going forward. What we think it
Yeah,
should be.
it's definitely going to be one of those topics that is, depending on who you ask, might be a little underwhelming.
Yeah, yeah, this is true, because I think it's safe to say White's the weakest color in the game.
At least it's weird because it depends on the format. Like if we're talking like say for example EDH, absolutely. Though weirdly enough in standard, it is mono white aggro is actually the most popular deck on Arena.
Hmm,
Weirdly enough.
that's cool.
So just a random fact there. But like I said, at least from the grand scheme, if we're looking at all formats in general, yeah, white is the weakest color.
Yeah, and I think that's partly due to, I mean, Tolarian Community College touched on this in a recent video on how White's big mechanics have been crept upon by other colors.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those scenes where also it's a combination of sometimes white's effects that they had that were a lot more powerful in the past have been brought back to an extent, but in a weaker, more quote unquote balanced form, one could say.
Yeah, and all the while, other colors get better and better things.
Or they get new tools or toys and such.
Yeah, yeah. There's some good comparisons to look at between some cards. Like you brought up before we started recording, Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah,
Uh,
like when they announced that reprint for M21, I was like, ooh, that is so cool. That's a classic card. Everybody loved it for Angel Tribal. It might make a lot of play in standard. What can top it? And well,
and a card that I believe is from the same cycle, Elder Gargaroth. Same.
why did they made it a Sitsis?
I don't know. I was just about to say that it's the same CMC. It's three and then two of the color, and it's a 6/6 instead of a 5/5. And it's also keyword soup. I mean, Baneslayer Angel has three keywords and then protection from demons and dragons. Gargaroth has three keywords and then whenever it attacks or blocks, do a thing of your choice.
Yeah, it's just kind of like one of those scenes where, granted, both of them are keyword too, but it seems like Green's just getting like a lot of like. I'll say this: at least it's, I don't know. I would jokingly say that at least it's a choice rather than, oh, like Uro, where you got everything.
Yeah, if it was, I feel like this would be it's already an expensive card, but if it was like attack and then do all three things, it would be
Oh,
insane.
it would be a card that would be on the chopping block if we're being honest with ourselves. But the fact that it has the fact that it has a choice is makes the card balance, and I'm saying balance with some really really big quotation marks here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big difference between these two cards is that Baneslayer Angel is more niche. Like, you're not always fighting demons and dragons, but in pretty much any situation, making a token or gaining life or drawing a card is just good.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because it's one of those cards where it's hard because we're in. This is coming from a standard perspective, so keep that in mind. When in regards to standard, the reason why Elder Gargaroth is just a lot better than the Baneslayer Angel analysis, besides the stats, is because it's a very Baneslayer is a very defensive oriented card, but it's not really proactive. Like you have to wait till your next turn to get an effect. While Elder Gargaroth, if your opponent, like, yeah, granted you have to wait in quotation marks, but if your opponent really has a significant of not wanting to attack in to give the card advantage and such. Which card advantage, enough said.
Yep, yep, that's true. And the fact I didn't even realize it has vigilance and trample. Or vigilance and reach. I knew it had three keywords, but it means you can attack with it and leave it up as a blocker and block flyers.
Yep.
it's just so much more value for the green mythic than the white mythic.
Yeah, it just seems like, at least it seems like for the past few sets, it's like, I guess it was one thing I did want to bring up when I was doing my research for this topic. It seems like white mythics in general have been very, not bad. There's some that have been actually pretty good, but they've just been very anticlimactic, I guess. Like, the one I can actually remember, if we rewind just a year back, once pretty much a year from now, was Pharaohs Beyond Death. Like, one of the highlight mythics was, of course, Heliod, which everybody knows the life gain shenanigans / ballista combo shenanigans, yada yada yada. But one of the other highlight mythics was supposed to be Elspeth. Elspeth returns, and like being like, oh, Elspeth's coming back. She's getting her Planeswalker card, and the gimmick's like, oh, you can actually recast her from the graveyard. That's so cool. We get a recastable Planeswalker. We get Elspeth back. What does she do? She makes tokens. Do those tokens have anything? No, they're just 1/1s.
Yeah.
Okay. What else does she do? Oh, gain life. What do? Oh, yeah. Just a little minimal, just a teeny little stat increase, but nothing significant that could be a game-winning significance. Maybe help you with combat, but nothing they can do at instant speed. And it's like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. That card was extremely underwhelming, I feel like, for being the main character of that set.
Yeah.
It's just almost strictly worse than all the other Elspeth cards we've had.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those that I still like the card, but like I said, it's underwhelming. It's one of those cards where I mostly will only play it like in like either a control shell that needs like some tokens to have defense, or B, kind of like a mid-range game where it's just essentially the stat introduction is actually a lot beneficial. But yeah, it is definitely compared to, I mean, heck, we even go to the other escape cards that were in that set that were mythic, like Uro. We always, like, that's the big talk of the town now because, hey, it's finally banned in every format.
Is it banned in
almost
Commander now?
Well, not in Commander. Like, it's one of those that they're pretty much, quick sidetrack here. For those who don't know, they did kind of like a secret lair announcement where Uro was part of the secret lair. But WotC actually gave it up and actually gave news that said, look, before you spend your money on this, we are going to be doing a BNR announcement where we are technically going to now ban Uro in historic and modern, and we're considering it for legacy. So just a heads up.
It's only good in Commander now.
Yeah, but to be fair, it is actually a pretty powerful commander card, especially in Tapiova.
Oh yeah, I run it in Yarok.
Oh, yes.
Very good on Yarok.
But, as I was saying, like, compared to the other escape cards like Ox, Uro, Kroza, like, Elspeth's just very, very anticlimactic.
More than that, she costs a lot of mana, comparatively. 6 mana and exile 4 cards for her escape. And then Uro is pay 4 and exile 5. I don't know. It's like you wouldn't even want to spend all of that to recast Elspeth.
Yeah, it's saying something when actually the better card of the set is actually what we would consider the villain in white rather than the actual hero.
Oh yeah, Heliod?
Yeah. Because, as we already know, as I stated before, Heliod, that is probably the only white mythic of the past few years where everybody was like, tilting their head sideways and be like, oh, that can do some stuff.
Can do some neat things.
Yeah, like walking ballista. Oh, well, yeah, let's be frank, everybody was just talking about the walking ballista combo. And plus the factor that it helped enable a lot of mono white gain strategies within standard at that time.
Yeah. Yes.
But
yeah. If we look at a more recent white mythic, though, that everyone made fun of, Seraphic Greatsword.
Oh, yeah, the one from Commander Legends. That one is like, don't get me wrong, I would love that card and stuff like Ikiri and such, like, equipment-based matter decks, but it's definitely one of those cards where you, like, it's like, oh, cool, but wait, so we only just get a stat boost. and then I have to make sure I attack the person with the most life. And then if I do, then I can create a flying token that is attacking the player as well.
Yep, and yeah, it doesn't do a lot. If you take a look at a mythic equipment from a set before Theros, Eldraine, Embercleave.
Oh, yeah. Like, compared to Embercleave, it's like two different things. Like, turns out...
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Just like, it turns out having Team or Battle Strike on an equipment is very, very good.
Yeah, Embercleave is so good. It's basically an auto include in any red equipment deck or a red artifact deck.
Pretty much.
Because if you're...
Like...
Go ahead.
Oh, like I have it in... I'm building a Sigwin deck since I actually got Sigwin just recently, and I was like, yep, throwing Embercleave in there without a sweat.
Yeah, I have a Cirquin deck. Very fun commander. But yeah, chances are you're going to be swinging with 4 creatures in this kind of deck, unless you're doing full Voltron, but it's going to reduce the cost to 2 mana anyways, and has Flash, and Double Strike and Trample. As compared to, you can make a 4/4 if you attack the player with the most life, and only if, and that's all it does, basically.
Yeah, it's just hard because it seems like White in general, it's like, I understand them wanting to do with them trying to keep with their quote-unquote color theory of like, everything has to be in balance. It's not like, they always want to make it where it's like a comeback color rather than a color that can be advansive, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, yeah.
Like, we even see, like, the new cards that came from... We're not talking about the cards that from Kaldheim, but actually the ones that are from the Commander Kaldheim product. And it's like, oh, there's the Stoic Farmer. It only is really good if you're behind.
Yeah. What was that again?
Stoic Farmer. 3 and a white, pretty much when it enters the battlefield, search your library, blah, 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 for a Plains card and reveal it. If an opponent controls more lands than you, put onto a battlefield tap, otherwise you put it in your hand and you shuffle your library.
Oh,
technically it's 4 mana, but hey, you can foretell it and spend 2 mana on it.
It's, yeah, they kind of treat white... I see what you're saying, like a comeback color. You're never trying to get ahead, you're trying to catch up.
Yeah, it's like a catch-up mechanic. It's like, essentially, it's almost like the underdog color. They really want to emphasize the theme of the underdog, with the exception of a few times where they either go into their taxing-like effects, which White's been known for, or kind of like the effects of, we give you this very, very powerful thing, but you're going to have to work for it. Like, you have to either combo it with another color, or you're going to have to make sure that, like, in general, like, if you try to do mono white in Commander, let's be frank, you are running a majority of the mana rocks, you're running a majority of advantages that you can to be able to get to your late game mono white payoffs, essentially.
Yeah, or you're just keeping a low mana curve, because you're not gonna... Unless you're using, like you said, every mana rock you can, you're not gonna keep up very well in mono white.
Yeah, and then every artifact card draw spell, that's etc., etc., etc.
Like,
but I will say, if there is one card that was kind of saucy for White that was in the Commanders, have you seen Hero Bredegar by any chance?
Hero Bredegar?
Yeah. That one is interesting because it's kind of one of those, it kind of brings up my point again where it's like, it seems like, oh, you can get this really awesome thing, but you have to work for it.
Okay, so it works with Foretell. As long as Hero Bredegar has 5 more counters on it. It has flying and is an angel. Okay. But that's a lot.
Yeah, you have to find a way to get 10 counters on the thing. Which, not impossible in Commander, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I could see it being run in like a proliferate deck or a counters matter deck, but yeah, it's not a huge payoff for the work you put into it. Not big enough, but at least it's a rare as opposed to the Great Sword that was a mythic.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, when was the last time we got a really, really good white mythic? And I'm not even talking about the Heliod circumstances. Like, what was the last good white mythic that you're like, yep, this is a mythic?
I can't think of one. I honestly can't.
Yeah, like, I can't even think. Like, I was thinking, oh, maybe Ipsilon? No. Maybe Mid? No.
I did like what was the white mythic dinosaur?
Oh, the one from Rivals of Ipsilon. Is that the one you're referring to? Oh,
Yeah,
I
is
know
that
what you're talking about.
Zatalpa?
Yeah, I think it might be Zatalpa. I think that's the rare though.
Is it
It's the one that essentially is a board wipe if except for dinosaurs, right?
No, Zatalpa Primal Dawn. It's a 4/8 for 8 with 5 keywords.
Oh
Flying, double
yeah.
strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible. It
God,
is a
that was a
rare
myth.
though.
I thought it was a rare. I was like, I and that's just kind of like weird. It's like they have this weird power distinction. Like it seems like the rares in white are always a lot better than the mythics, which is kind of like a funny thing I noticed. Like if we go back, like rewind just like one set before Kaldheim, and we go to stuff like say like Zendikar Rising, like the most popular card that was in white in that set was Skyclave Apparition. But when we look at the white mythics, they're fine.
Yeah, I also remember Felidar Retreat being pretty good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's an all-star in a lot of commander deck sets, especially due to the landfall shenanigans.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there was one good white mythic, which was Omnath, but that's also was a good red, a blue, and a red mythic as well.
Yeah, not a mono white mythic.
Yeah,
Another card I saw people making fun of from Kaldheim was Divine Gambit.
that one. It's not great. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. It's not great, but I do agree with kind of like Gave when he or did I say Gave? I'm Gavin Verhey. That's the name. He was actually talking about it. He's like, look, this card's for limited. It's not really much for constructed. Okay? Okay. So, yeah, in limited, it's actually a pretty good card because the thing is, you are going to get to a point in limited where opponents will not have that many permanents in their hand. Especially with the kind of like the flow of how limited is played, where you play something, your opponent plays something, etc., etc. You're mostly trying to get into a board state and such. You're never going to play it on turn 2, but as a late game removal spell, it's fine. But in constructed, on the other hand, it's not a path to exile. Let's just be frank.
I guess that's fair. Tyler pointed out to me, my co-host, he's not here today, but he pointed out to me that if they changed the clause where it has to be a permanent that an opponent controls to any permanent, it would be insanely good for constructed.
Oh yeah, it would be White's Tippled Trickery, which we all know what that card's doing in the format at the moment.
Because then you can zot your own stuff and just cheat something out from your hand.
Yeah, and yet it seems like white has to be the fair color. It has to be the color that doesn't take any advantage.
Yeah, that bugs me, because, yeah, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
I mean...
I think it's one of those... Oh, sorry. Continue.
Oh, I was going to go off on another topic, but you go ahead. You can finish up.
I think if there's one thing with white that I think we need... Like, I originally was talking about this, and I think we never talking with this on a Commander stream with Zuby a while back. I feel like people are just wanting to have a broken white card. Like, they want a card where I thought originally that, but then Baltimore was like, no. And I was like, I decided to rethink of that. And I don't think people want a broken white card. They just want a very... I'll put it like this. If we're talking about Kaldheim at the moment, I think they want something like an Orvar. Like a card that you look at it and you're like, okay, that's going to be fun to brew around.
Yes. Orvar
and really
is very exciting.
Yeah, like the whole like brewing implications of the card and such, and just thinking about that. It's just like I think people want an Orvar style right mythic inevitably, like a card that looks fun to brew around and just be something that can add a new dynamic to the color pie, rather than just be like, oh, we're just making tokens again. Yep. Oh, are we just getting life again? Yep. Oh, are we just either going to play this in control with Yorion, or are we going to play this in aggro? Yeah, probably.
That really seems to be the only two things that white is like the best at is life gain and token making.
Yeah,
Those are the
or
two big
just
things.
or hit the face aggro because they're. It seems like Wizard always does this in a few cycles. They always make the really good aggressive 2 white drop. Like in this, like back in Ixalan, it was that vampire that can always get indestructible. I always forget the name of the bugger. Adontal Vanguard. That's the name of it.
Danto Vanguard. Sounds very familiar. Yes. Okay.
Or like the current one that's the Adontal Vanguard of current standard is like a Seasoned Hallowblade.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah. So that's kind of like my thoughts on that one. So moving on.
Yeah. I think some people want another card at the level of like Smothering Tithe.
Oh yeah. They like it's kind of weird because it's kind of like interesting how we talk about Smothering Tide. Do you think they want it in the sense of just being able to have a good resource generation, or do you more think of it on the lines of they want like a taxing effect, kind of like what Smothering Tide does?
Yeah, Smothering Tithe is really good. If we can get something like that, something to help ramp white, if not just a white creature at the level of Elder Gargaroth.
Yeah,
One of the two I think would help.
you know, I was also concept theory on this. I think, like I said before with Orvar, I think people want to have a new white kind of like gimmick and such. Like the one I thought of right off the bat is like, and this is like an example, like this is not balanced whatsoever, but it kind of like proves the point I'm trying to prove here. Let's say that for some random reason, WotC R&D went crazy, which, you know, sometimes they do, like, it happens. Let's say they made a white mythic that said, like, oh, the Balancer, or some shtick like that, and it had an effect that said, anytime a land is destroyed, instead, you create a token copy of a land.
Instead. So that would be neat though, having something to do with land destruction.
That is not land destruction, but it makes you get quote unquote balance, so to speak. And you can still like exploit it and such. Like it's weird because I feel like that's what white needs to do. They still need to keep to they want to feel balance and such, but they need to find another twist to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, something more unique than just token creatures and life gaining.
Or just catching up if your opponent is way ahead, which, due to the factor of the current kind of like color theory at the moment, the other colors can get ahead pretty dang quick.
just print an enchantment, that a mono white enchantment that's like whenever an opponent plays a land, if you're not, if whenever an opponent plays a land, if they have more lands than you, search your library for planes and put it onto the battlefield.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess
Yeah.
technically we have something like that. We do have land tax, technically.
Does that? What does land tax read?
It reads like at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent has more lands to you, you may search up for 2 basics.
Yeah, but that puts them in your hand. You can't
Put them on the battlefield, right?
Yeah, and yeah, something along those lines, like I guess that would be a better land tax, which might be too much, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem with. I think that's one of the issues that white does have when they're trying to make better white cards. It's just the factor is they want to stick to the rules of kind of like what they have for white, which is kind of like, okay, it is the balance color. Well, not balance. It's like the underguard. It's like the fair card. It's like they don't want to find any way to be manipulative and such unless they splice another color in. Like Orzhov, we know it as like, well, religious. What's the word? Like Orzhov is pretty much religious. I'm forgetting the name of it. Autocracy, I think it's the name. Autocracy. I'm having a brain fart. In other words, aristocrats. Yeah. So kind of like that. Unless it ties itself to another color, they don't really want to pie off of what white can do, essentially.
Yeah, and I really do think that it just needs more mana ramp in mono white, because both Land Tax and Smothering Tithe are very expensive cards, despite Land Tax being recently reprinted in Double Masters and Smothering Tithe being a 2-year-old card.
Yeah, like, what's it going at? Like, let me check. Like, hang on a minute. Let me check to see how much Smothering Tide's going for now. I know it's going out for ridiculous.
Pretty sure it's like $29.
I think it's more, actually, if I remember correct. Oh, no, it's like 25. You're right. I thought it was going for 30 sometime. Or am I thinking... Oh, I'm thinking the foil. Yeah, the foil is going for like $52.
Ah. Yeah. But still, like, you can kind of tell what a color wants to do or needs more of by the price of the cards that do those things, because we don't have a lot of mana ramp in white.
Not really, unless we talk about like Artifact Ramp, which, as we stated before, is pretty much the only way white ramps other than Tithe, pretty much.
Yeah, I think that's why Smothering Tithe is so expensive, because there's not really any other card that fills that niche.
At least at the moment. Who knows? Hopefully, maybe in the future we get a card that does some shtick like that.
Yeah, we hopefully in a set this year would be nice.
Well, time will tell, as they say.
Yeah, just a good rare. I don't think whatever it is should be mythic. It should be more accessible than that.
Right. And if you do make a good white mythic, make it at least a spectacle card, or make it something that is like makes it fun to brew around, rather than be like, oh, this is really, really boring, and you only put it in one deck design.
Yeah, so it's not like Heliod, where it's like, oh, you just do one thing with it.
Yeah.
Something more interesting is what you're saying.
Yeah, like something that would be a fun brewing challenge. Like, do I think of fun brewing challenges with Seraphic Greatsword? No. Do I think of fun brewing challenges with Heliod? When it was revealed, sure, like there's enough life gain shenanigans you could do, but it's already been done. Like something that is like, when you look at it, like as I stated before, like with Orvar, that's like, okay, there's some fun brews you can do with it. It's just because, like, if we're talking like Commander, like all the white legendaries that came from Kaldheim were just not bad, but not great. I'm just going to put it like that. Like, yes, Haraval is amazing, especially if you're doing the equipment shenanigans. But besides that, like, we got stuff like, say, I'm going to butcher my pronunciations of this, so I apologize in advance. But I think the one that's most egregious of this is Sigurd the God-Favored, which is like, I understand why that's legendary for standard, but I would be very surprised if someone ever makes this their commander.
God-Favored. I'm trying to pull them up on Scryfall, so I don't actually remember them. But yeah, with Orvar, yeah, it's a really good example of a really interesting mono blue commander, because he turns all of your targeting spells, all of your beneficial targeting spells, into copy a creature.
Or copy a land.
Oh!
You didn't realize that, did you?
Oh my god. So you can just... Oh.
Yep.
So you can target your own, like, you can target your own, what is it called? Oh, it's the land that turns into a 20/20.
Merit Lage.
Merit Lage, yeah.
Yep.
Just turn it in, make a copy of that. It's just an easier way than Thespian Sage.
Well, I don't know if that would work, because it does enter in as a copy, but I do think it enters with the counters like the original copy does.
You're right.
But I was thinking more something along the lines of, I don't know, like, I think the best example I could think of at the top of my brain is, like, if you put Arvar in a blue-green deck, I mean, no, not blue-green, like, let's keep with mono-blue just for fun of it, like, copy, say, like, it's sad that the only thing I could think of is, like, copy a Temple of the False God, but there's a lot better lands you could copy. Like, imagine any of the good lands that are technically not legendary, but feel like legendary power even though they're not legendary. Like, I can't think of them right off the bat. Yeah, copy Field of the Dead and such.
I need to put Orvar in Yarok.
Do you have enough targeted spells to do that, though?
I don't know. I'm gonna check, but I did pull an Orvar, so I might make this happen.
Pulled a few myself. I had to send one of them to Hobbs, though, because he wanted the spotlight art on it.
Yeah. But yeah, because we're already talking about a bunch of ideas for Orvar, and we can't really think of any for what was the god favored.
Yeah, like, honestly, the most exciting card of the set that is white, besides Doomscar, because, well, Doomscar.
God favored. Sigrid.
Yeah.
First strike protection from gods. That's really niche. When they enter the battlefield, exile to one target attacking or blocking creature until she. Okay,
like it's like a Banisher Priest. That's pretty much what it is, but it's a legendary Banisher Priest, which I don't know many ways you would want to make a legendary Banisher Priest your commander.
Yeah, I don't think you would ever want her in the command zone. Maybe in the 99.
Yeah. Though the one that actually has been making rounds besides Doomscar and such that actually has been surprising me because I've been actually tinkering with it, Runeforge Champion of all things.
Runeforge. Oh yeah.
And mostly it's because there's a few broken shenanigans. Well, I don't know if I would say broken, but there's actually a lot more fun brewing opportunity with the card than you would think at first glance.
I saw a combo with him and Berkey.
Yeah, the Bergy combo. Like, I talked about that on Twitter. Like, there's the Bergy combo. There was even one card that came from originally the last year's Pharaohs, which is like a 2-drop aura bird, or like an enchantment bird that pretty much says, oh, hey, your auras cost 1 less.
Yeah.
So, pretty much you make it where you have that, you have Runeforge Champion, and you have Bergy. As long as you have a lot of runes, you can generate a lot of red mana. A lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the fun card that everybody's been talking about brewing around.
I think the idea is that Bergy combined with the champion just lets you basically play your runes for free.
Pretty much.
Just pretty neat. You can just it doesn't spit them out from your deck, but you can search one up, and then if you have more in your hand, you just play them all for free.
Yep, and if you have like that bird as I was talking about, then you just, instead of just being for free, you generate mana from it. So
what's the bird again?
From Pharaohs. Let me check the card list real quick. Beyond Death card list. Let me check. I always see it in my head, but I always forget the name of it. Let me get it. It's warmer. Here we go. Transcendent Envoy.
Transcendent Envoy. Oh, yeah.
So then now your auras are free with the Runeforge Champion.
Are all the runes...
They're auras.
They're auras.
So, they're essentially free with Runeforge Champion.
Wow.
The more you know, the better.
That's really cool, actually.
So yeah, it's kind of like that was a fun. If that was, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that was kind of like one of the coolest synergies we've seen that in White and such.
Yeah. It's very narrow, though, to be fair. Just runes.
Oh yeah. It's been fun because I've been playing in like a Runestorm deck, it's kind of fun to brew around.
Well, that sounds neat.
But yeah, it's hard because then I look at all Pharaohs Beyond Death, and there's just like other cards that are like a lot more fun and such. Like we have Nightmare Shepherd, we have stuff like Ots of Agonis, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, we have several Theros sets with which to draw from with good enchantment support.
That is true.
So yeah.
So
go ahead.
Oh, now you were saying?
Oh, I was gonna wrap things up. If you have something more to add.
I think if there was like a finishing thought, I would say it's just kind of one of those scenes where if I had to make a final thought of what I think white would have to be a better color, I think with it needs to have more experimental mythics. Like nothing like you don't necessarily need to break the color if that's what they're being cautious about. I just think you need to make mythics that when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's going to be a fun brew around, rather than oh, it complements a already successful strategy or try to make it a lot more standard viable. I think they need to be more experimental with their mythics. Though I will say with their rares, it would be nice if the power levels upped a little bit, even though they do have like a few good rares once in a blue moon in the past few sets, like with Skyclave Apparition, the Felidar Retreat, even in this set with Kaldheim, Doomscar, as well as Runeforge Champion, etc., etc.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I hope to see some better white cards in the future.
Well, fingers crossed on that.
Yeah. Alright, and with that, I think we can wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for watching. You can find Levdev's social media in the what is it called? The description. I forgot the word for a second. In the description.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. Let's be frank, we have brain farts. Especially since you're going through your midterms, you're probably having a lot of brain farts.
Yeah. It was fun, though. It was fun talking with you.
Oh, likewise.
Yeah. I will continue to say you are, like, a beacon of positivity in this community, and I'm glad you're around.
Well, it's better to be optimistic than pessimistic.
That is true. It is healthier.
Yeah, and though granted, it probably the only thing that negates is my viewership count.
Well, you're great. So everyone who's watching this, if you're not subscribed to Levdev, go subscribe, follow his Twitter, do all the things, support him. He's great.
And I appreciate the advertisement.
Of course. Can't have you on the show and not plug your social medias.
That is true. Nevertheless, anything else you want me to say before we conclude?
I don't think so.
Well,
thank you all
for everybody who's listening. If you like to, please follow Andrew and such, and also just follow his YouTube content and such. It's been lovely to see his EDH shenanigans as well as his 2 cents on stuff. Nevertheless, I hope you all have a wonderful day. As they say, hip hip hooray.
Y'all have a great day.